By March 1968, Hong Kong politics had settled down considerably, so Mother brought the boys back from their brief sojourn of relative security in Sydney. I actually stayed on in Sydney independently and worked as a buyer for the Sports Girl boutique chain till November, when I rejoined the family's Asian adventures. Then we were all briefly under one roof again, although, as I was almost 21, I was itching to live my own life and wouldn't stay long. The Kowloon Tong house was nothing fancy, a typical single-story, three-bedroom house. Nevertheless, the generous servants' quarters off the kitchen were very much appreciated by Cheng. On our Tuesday afternoons off, she'd visit the local market, never failing to return with fresh white sea bream, Chinese mackerel, and gray mullet for Tinkerbell, the scraggly little tortoiseshell cat that had followed Michael home one day. This little waif reminded us of delightful Bashou's 17th century haiku, "Why so scrawny, cat? Starving for fat fish or mice or backyard love?" Chang spurned the idea of anything less than fresh fish for Master Michael's Mao, as they call a cat in Cantonese. And in fact, Michael's rescued stray would become famous. She posed with him for a photograph to go with an article in the local newspaper, the China Mail. He'd entered her in a pet competition, and lo and behold, they won. And there is another character name that Michael chose for his beloved ones, that was lifted from the pages of J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan and Wendy Tales. His pretty tabby Tinkerbell was named after Peter Pan's hyperactive, mischievous fairy protector, and his baby would be called Tiger Lily, as the Native American princess in Neverland was called. Master Michael and Master Rhett, as our Cheng called them, had always shared a room. Now they had their separate domains. Top priority for Michael's was a bookshelf, spilling over with titles he loved to read, including The Egypt Game by Californian Zelpha Keatley Snyder, and Roald Dahl's James and the Giant Peach. I also recall reading him Ursula K. Le Guin's fantasy classic, A Wizard of Earthsea, out loud, as it was a little harder. We loved that book. His chess set was nearby, his favorite model aircraft of the moment carefully set up on a top shelf. A boomerang on the wall hinted at his Australian background. Tinkerbell shared Michael's bed, later joined by her kitten Tabitha. From this vantage point, the terrible furred twosome took delight in lunging at Ah Cheng's braid as it swung from side to side while she firmly tucked in the sheets. None of us had dared try to make our own bed, since an earlier ama, who didn't stay long, had summoned the chauffeur, who agreed with her 100%. For us to make our own beds would be a dire insult to her housekeeping skills. Then it came time for Michael to enroll at the newly opened Beacon Hill School, an international primary one. Being friendly and confident, he immediately began making friends. Once again, he was not exactly top of his class, but he got by. His teachers enjoyed having him there, but that didn't stop him from getting up to mischief. One of the other boys at Beacon Hill Primary was Tim Stewart, an American. One lunchtime, Tim walked out of a stall in the upstairs boys' restroom to wash his hands and found Michael staring intently out the window. The two of them were about 9 years old. "What's so interesting out there?" "See those girls playing jump rope?" asked Michael. "Yes." "Do you think if we soak rolls of toilet paper and throw them down at them, we could get them wet?" They looked at each other with intent. The best way to solve a physics problem like this was to give it a go, really. You would never know if you didn't. So they took all the extra supplies of toilet paper and began soaking them in the sink. Michael threw the first. It landed short. The girls didn't even notice. Tim was up next and fared better, coming closer to the target. Michael realized he needed to aim a little more to the left. His next shot was much better, as it landed sploosh right next to the rope, spraying the girls.